Hello everyone, so today I'll be talking about naval gunnery in War Thunder. So basically in this diagram, um, there are two ships. Your ship is right here, and the enemy ship is right here, the target ship. So let's say you're in the same position as as the target ship, right? You're just parallel to the ship, and then you're moving at 75 kilometers an hour. The muzzle velocity of the gun is 850 meters per second, and you shoot over here, right? You shoot right at the ship, so basically, that's your point of aim. And then, so basically, and the target is 8.5 kilometers away, and you shoot here. So basically, and you're moving at 75 kilometers an hour, or 20.83 meters per second. And it would take the shell about 10 seconds to traverse 8,500 meters or 8.5 kilometers. So in 20.83 meters per second at 10 seconds, you will be at 208.3 meters when you shoot here. So your shells are going to land here. It's not going to land here because you're in a moving ship, right? You're shooting from a moving position. So the point of your shells hitting will be here, not the ship. So in order for you to hit it, you would have to aim this way. Your point of aim would have to be here, right? To hit it, basically. And I'll show you that in a video as well. So this is another parallel example. Two ships moving in a parallel direction. And both ships are moving at the same speed of 75 kilometers an hour. And then the target is again at 8.5 kilometers with the same muzzle velocity of 850 meters per second. And the other ship is moving at the same speed of 75 kilometers an hour. So basically, if you aim here, right there, then your shells are going to land right here. So it takes about 10 seconds for your shells to get to 8.5 kilometers or 8,500 meters. So when you shoot here, then you're going to hit the ship because you're moving at the same speed. So do you see what I did? So basically, okay. So both ships are moving parallel to each other. So if this ship was moving, let's say, 100 kilometers an hour, and it's much faster, and you shoot here, then you're not going to hit it. The ship would be over here or something, right? And your ship's, it's probably going to hit near the rear of the enemy ship. So basically, if it's moving faster, then it's different. If it's moving slower, then your shells are going to land ahead of the enemy ship. So that's how this works. So let's get to the next example. So this is an example of two ships moving in a parallel direction, same direction, at different speeds. So the target ship is moving at 88 kilometers an hour, and the distance that it covers, this ship will cover, is here. So before we do that, we're just going to see the distance from your ship to the target ship is, let's say, 11 kilometers or 1,100 meters, and you fire right here, right? So then will your shots hit the ship? That's what we want to find out. And basically, it will take 12.9 seconds for your shells traveling at 850 meters per second, or 0.85 kilometers. It will take about 12.9 seconds to traverse 11 kilometers. Just about. So you're moving at a parallel speed. The enemy ship is moving faster. So in 12.9 seconds, the distance your ship would have covered would be 268.75 meters, and this is where your shells would land, basically, if you fire at this position. And the enemy ship is moving at 88 kilometers an hour. And in 12.9 seconds, the enemy ship will be right here at 315.33 meters. So if you fire here, you're not going to hit it. So in order for you to hit it, you'd have to aim ahead of it. Your shooting point would be like 315 meters ahead, right? Then you would hit the ship right here, basically. If your point of aim was right here when you shot, the time would pass and the shells would land here, basically. In this parallel example of different speeds. So if your ship was moving slower, then you would have to aim a little more ahead in order to hit the ship, basically. And the next example is when two ships are moving towards opposite directions of each other, converging to a point. So your ship is moving from right to left. The enemy ship is moving from left to right. So this is how you would. Then if you fired here, then your point of impact for the shells would be right there. And the muzzle velocity is the same as before at 850 meters a second. And you're moving at 75 kilometers an hour. And the enemy is moving at 60 kilometers an hour in this opposite direction. So this distance from you to the enemy ship is 9 kilometers. It's 9,000 meters. So then at this speed, your shells would get moved to 9 kilometers in about 10.58 seconds. This isn't totally accurate because the muzzle velocity, the velocity of the shell changes with the distance. So the speed of the shell is kind of like reduced. So you would have to look at an artillery chart to get the accurate velocity at different distances. So this is just I'm doing this for an example, basically. So it would land at 10.58 seconds, right? And in 10.58 seconds, your shells would be here, your ship would be about right there as well. And the enemy ship in 10.58 seconds will be right there. And let's see what right there is exactly. So I'll just compute that. So it'll be 175.63 meters for the green, and for the point of impact, that would be about 220.38 meters would be right there. So this is 500 meters altogether, so it's not going to quite hit the ship. So you're just going to have to aim a little more ahead, and then you probably hit the ship. Probably the front of the ship, and if you want to hit the middle, then you'd have to aim a little more to the left, and you would hit the ship in the center or the back or whatever. So that's how it works. So now let's get to the video and see how all this applies. Hello everyone, so today I'll be talking about how you could use your naval guns in War Thunder. So that's a stationary target, so you really don't have to compensate, but just to aim and shoot like that. But to hit a moving target, it's a little more difficult.
Gunners are searching for airborne targets. All gunners, hold your fire. Gunners are searching for airborne and surface targets.
I'm aiming at that destroyer right there. Just make sure all your guns are trained on the target. So I'm moving from right to left. So then in order for me to compensate, if I shoot here, my rounds are going to land there. I'll demonstrate. See, it's not hitting the target. It's like the rounds are going to the left because my ship is moving from left to right. So what I do is I compensate by moving it to the right. Now if I shoot, I'm gonna hit it, see? And you could adjust that by changing the position of the scope. have a pretty good elevation.
The enemy is marked.
If I aim a little higher, then it's probably going to go right over the target. So I'm going to aim lower. If I aim too low, then the rounds are going to hit the water, basically, like I do right here. Like that. So this is probably the best position I could fire from to hit the target. This gun has a pretty high rate of fire, so as you can see, you can get very fast follow-up shots. And I'm going to aim at that target, which is further away. Like I said, I'm moving at 64 kilometers an hour, and the rounds are going to like move ahead because I'm moving. Try to hit it. So I have to aim further. Rounds are too aren't reaching far further enough, you know, aren't reaching far enough. Now it's doing it. It's pretty good. Angle and windage. Windage is horizontal. Very good. So if you have another ship that's moving in the opposite direction of you, then you have to aim a lot more to the right. Let's say if a ship was fighting me right here and I was trying to get him and he's going the opposite direction, and I would have to aim more to the right to hit the ship. So I'm going to demonstrate this when I go into a battle, basically. Basically, the instrument that was used to aid in gunnery back in World War II was something called a coincidence rangefinder. So that helped ships like this to get the range of the target. And the way a coincidence rangefinder works is have two, it's kind of like a scope. So it's like, just like in the diagram you see, it's like a long scope, and then it kind of like triangulates the target. So you kind of like adjust the scope, and then you get an angle, and then you use that angle, and then you kind of like triangulate to find the distance of the target. And then if you could get the distance, then you would know the trajectory of the gun, basically. Okay, that round's not good. A little more to the right. They didn't have laser rangefinders back in World War II. And also the radar systems weren't that developed. Radar is another way that you can get the range of the target. I think the Fletcher class destroyer had like very good radar, and they kind of like use radar guided guns, I guess, which is pretty good. And another weapon you got is a torpedo. Very hard to use effectively in combat, because if a ship changes directions, then, or if it changes its speed, then it's going to be very difficult to hit at long ranges. When you're engaging long-range targets, it does take a little bit of time for the shells to get there. Let's say the target is 10 kilometers to 15 kilometers away.
I see a torpedo impact.
It could take as long as 20 seconds for the shell to hit the target. And if your enemy changes their direction just a little bit, that could throw out your aim.
The enemy ship has been torpedoed.
Alright, let's play an actual game. Okay, now let's play an actual game, and I'll show you how to use
Gunners are
Gunnery in a
searching for
more
airborne
practical
surface targets.
application for it. So I'm using a destroyer right now. This has a 127 millimeter gun. I think the effective range for this gun is 10 kilometers, so I'm just too far away from any target to shoot right now. Don't waste ammo and just shoot away at targets that are just too far away. One thing you do have to worry about are torpedoes when you try to get close to your enemy, to get within gun range. Whoops, I got torpedoed by my own allies. So when you're moving in, move in like this, and just make sure you're scanning the ocean for torpedoes and stuff. That guy is definitely a torpedo bore. That ship is built for launching torpedoes. My ship, not so much. This is not a good ship for torpedoes. Torpedoes on my ship are pretty crappy, but the guns on it are quite good. Closer. So when you use your guns, you want to try to get broadside so you can point the maximum number of guns at your enemies. This guy is quite far away, so I'm moving from left to right, and he's moving from right to left, so you have to compensate that for aiming a little bit further, and you can see where the shell is going. I think I have to aim a little bit more to the right because the shells are landing. Sniping sight or the scope. Shoot your enemies with artillery. I think these shells are gonna land home. Close, but not. That's a little more to the right. I think lower, perhaps. I score a hit. Yeah, I hit it. I want to aim lower. I sunk him with my shells. Not bad. Alright, let's try the next ship. That wasn't too good. I just got pummeled. And the next thing you should consider are the shells that you're using. This is an armor-piercing shell. This is high explosive. This is a shell with a proximity fuse. It's good for shooting down aircraft. I'm going to use this one. AP.
Gunners are searching for airborne and surface targets.
I got subbed by that guy. The skull thing. I'm going to go after him. It takes a while. It takes a little bit of time for the guns to traverse to battery. So just wait until all the guns are there. Okay, now let's shoot. Okay, let's see where the shells land. It's to the left, so I have to aim more to the right. And lower because he's coming at me. As you can see, the speed, the distance. So now he's changing direction, so I'm gonna a little bit more to the left. Just hit. Got to aim a little bit more to the right now. I should change directions too to avoid getting hit. Change course a little bit. But then I have to compensate for the guns as well to hit the target. Now I'm going to aim a little bit more to the left and lower to hit the target. Just make sure you keep track of where the shells are. Going parallel to me in the same direction. I guess his speed is lower because he's damaged, so I better aim a little bit more to the rear of the ship.
We're losing.
AP again, armor piercing.
Gunners are searching for airborne and surface targets.
So it's an armor piercing shell with a high explosive core in it. That's the type of shell it is. For all my guns to go into battery again. So that's for the gun. If the gun has a pretty high muzzle velocity, then the trajectory of the gun is going to be flatter. If the gun has a very low muzzle velocity, then the trajectory is going to be higher. So trajectory basically looks like a parabola. See in the diagram? Hitting it, so shells are landing on target. So as you can see where I'm aiming, might sink them.
We need to put more pressure on the enemy. They're winning.
See where my shells are landing. I have to aim a little bit more. I think that's good. A little bit more to the left. Probably lower, because it's coming at me. You can see the distance. Change my direction too to avoid getting hit. What's bad about destroyers is that
Gunners are searching for airborne and surface targets.